exploration. Let us move ahead. Now, let us talk about meaning in communication. Now, language employs a combination of words to communicate ideas in a meaningful way. વાતચીતની આપણી રોજિંદી ઘટનાઓમાં પણ અર્થ વગરની અથવા તો હેતુ વગરની વાતચીતનું ખાસ મહત્ત્વ રહેતું નથી. તો meaning part in the process of communication, it plays a very important role. For example, આપણે એના કેટલાક ઉદાહરણથી આ વસ્તુને સમજીએ. By changing the word order in a sentence, you can change its meaning. Just have a look on the example. I eat rice only. Please pay your attention to the underlined word in the sentences. I eat rice only and I only eat rice. Do you think both the sentences, they do convey one and the same meaning? No. I eat rice only. That means I eat rice, nothing else. And the second sentence, I only eat rice. That means I don't cook it, I only eat. That means I don't do anything else with the rice. I don't cook, but I eat only. So see, just the change of placement of a particular word only in both the sentences, it gives different meaning in both the sentences. So that is very important, how you are drafting your sentence, how you are using it, what kind of vocabulary you are using for your communication process. And that creates the very essence of the process of communication, and that's called meaning. So meaning is most important part. Now, when it comes to communication, by default it comes to language. You can also include body language, but see, even in that case, it is a kind of language. So whenever it comes to communication, by default it comes to language. Whether it is even sign language or symbolic language or whatever. તો જ્યારે પણ કમ્યુનિકેશન હોય તો ભાષાની વાત ત્યાં આવે છે. પછી એ શાબ્દિક ભાષા હોય, શરીરની ભાષા હોય, શારીરિક ચિહ્નોની કોઈ ભાષા હોય કે કંઈ પણ. બટ અલ્ટિમેટલી ઇટ કમ્સ ટુ લેંગ્વેજ. તો આ સાથે લેંગ્વેજ વિશે પણ આપણે થોડી વાત મિત્રો સમજી લેવી જોઈએ, કારણ કે કમ્યુનિકેશનમાં લેંગ્વેજનું મહત્ત્વ ખૂબ છે. કમ્યુનિકેશનની પ્રોસેસમાં તમે કયા પ્રકારે કેવી રીતે ભાષાનો ઉપયોગ કરો છો એના ઉપર ઘણો જ મદાર રહેલો હોય છે. તો ભાષાની પણ કેટલીક કેરેક્ટરિસ્ટિક્સ, કેટલીક લાક્ષણિકતાઓ વિશે આપણે ઝડપથી વાત કરી લઈએ થોડી. Before we start with the characteristics of language, I must say that how would you define the term language? Can you think about the term language? What's your definition for the term language? મોટા ભાગે વિદ્યાર્થીઓ આનો જવાબ, language is a tool for communication. Language is a medium for communication. Language is something through which we can express. આવા જવાબો આપતા હોય છે. Fine, these answers are okay. There is nothing wrong. But this is not the definition of the term language. Technically, if you define the term language, we should say language is a collection of. Language is a collection of graphs and sounds. In fact, I must say sounds and graphs. Why? Because see, first we learn sounds and then we move ahead with the graphs. What do I mean by sounds and what do I mean by graphs? Let me be very clear about this. In our life, during our childhood, first we learn sounds. આપણી આજુબાજુમાં થતી વાતચીતના વ્યવહારો સાંભળી અને આપણે ભાષા શીખતા હોઈએ છીએ. So that is the first step of learning a language in our life. And after that, later on, whenever we start going to schools, we start learning something about graphs. That means the written language. For example, K, K, G, A, B, C. સૌપ્રથમ આપણે એ સાઉન્ડ શીખીએ છીએ, બોલતા શીખીએ છીએ અને પછીથી આપણે એને લખતા શીખીએ છીએ. So, લખવાનું શીખવું, that is the study of graphs. I mean how you are representing a particular sound with which particular symbol or sign, right? એ માટેનું જે ચિહ્ન છે તો એ છે એ સાઉન્ડ એ માટેનું વપરાતું રિપ્રેઝન્ટેશન છે અથવા તો પિક્ટોરિયલ પ્રેઝન્ટેશન છે અથવા તો ગ્રાફિકલ રિપ્રેઝન્ટેશન છે. So that is very important, that you must be knowing the actual definition of the term language. So language is a systematic set or collection of sounds and graphs which conveys a particular meaning. હવે આપણે ભાષાની કેટલીક લાક્ષણિકતાઓ છે ઝડપથી વાત કરી લઈએ. The very first thing I must talk about is language is artificial. Why it is artificial? Because it is a man-made system. Man modifies meaning of words as per the need. For example, આપણે એક ઉદાહરણ તમે સ્લાઇડમાં જોઈ શકો છો. Nice means goods. Its Latin root nisar means to be ignorant, and in 13th century it meant stupid, foolish. See, મિત્રો મજાની વાત એ છે કે આપણા માટે ખૂબ પરિચિત એવો એક આ શબ્દ નાઇસ, એના ત્રણ જુદા જુદા એંગલ, ત્રણ જુદા જુદા સંદર્ભો અહીંયા આપણને આપવામાં આવ્યા છે આ એક્ઝામ્પલમાં. તો નાઇસ શબ્દનો મિનિંગ તમે કઈ જગ્યાએ શું કઈ રીતે કરો છો, અથવા તો તમે એનો શું અર્થ આપવા ઈચ્છો છો, દેટ ઇઝ અપ ટુ યુ. દેટ ડિપેન્ડ્સ ઓન યોર ઓન કમ્યુનિકેશન, ધ વે યુ આર કમ્યુનિકેટિંગ, રાઇટ? સો ઇટ ઇઝ ઓલ ટુગેધર અ ડિફરન્ટ સ્ટોરી. I mean, what I exactly want to mean is, see, generally we say that words do have a particular meaning. I don't think so. Words do not carry any meaning on their own, right? It is we people who are attaching a particular meaning to the words, and how do we do this? The way we are using those words in the process of communication. So language is a very we can say artificial system, and it is a man-made system. બીજી એક લાક્ષણિકતા વિશે વાત કરીએ તો language is restricted. When we think and translate our thoughts into language, some meaning is lost in process. Yes. ભાષાની આ એક લાક્ષણિકતા થોડી ધ્યાનથી સમજી લેવાની જરૂર છે. While language is restricted, આનું એક બીજું એક સરસ ઉદાહરણ આપીએ કે જ્યારે તમે કોઈ ફૂલ સૂંઘી રહ્યા છો, અથવા તો જ્યારે તમે કોઈ એક આઈસ્ક્રીમ ખાઈ રહ્યા છો, કેન યુ express, can you describe the feeling that you had while smelling the flower, or we can say while taking a bite of ice cream? I don't think so, right? So it is restricted. માય સ્કૂલ એવો શબ્દ પ્રયોગ જ્યારે તમે કરો છો ત્યારે એનો મતલબ શું થાય છે, તેનો અર્થ શું થાય છે? માય સ્કૂલ, દેટ મીન્સ આઈ એમ ધી ઓનર ઓફ ધ સ્કૂલ? નો. હિયર માય સ્કૂલ, દેટ મીન્સ this is the school where I am studying, right? તો આ અર્થનો પ્રયોગ શેના ઉપરથી આપણે નક્કી કર્યો? એ બહુ જ મહત્ત્વની વસ્તુ છે. That is why you cannot fix up certain boundaries, right? I mean, the way you are using language, it gives the meaning, right? And many a times it is restricted in certain other terms as well, that you cannot express 100% of what exactly you wanted to convey. As I said earlier, that in the case of having a bite of ice cream, you cannot describe the feeling that you had on the very first bite of your ice cream. So that is, language is restricted. Let us move ahead. Language is abstract. It represents a generalized idea. For example, dress, table. These are some general, there are many more, you can find it out. But these are some general terms which can be used for so many things. When you are saying table, it can be of any shape, it can be of any size, it can be of any color, it can be of any material. When you are saying dress, it includes lot many things, right? Starting from the attires meant for men, meant for women, or it can be anything, right? So that is why language is abstract. Language is arbitrary. That means no direct relationship between word and object it represents. Table can be called anything. Arbitrary ને સરળ ભાષામાં મિત્રો કહું તો જેનું કોઈ પ્રૂફ નથી, જેની પાછળ કોઈ લોજિક નથી, એવી એક સિસ્ટમ, that is language. So table cannot be called anything. It can be, but we do not do so. We call table as table only. We name it table as table only, right? Why do we do so? Why don't we call a table as a pen or a file or anything else? So that is why there is no reason, there is no logic, there is no proof behind it that why we are saying this word for this particular object, and that is why it is to be called as arbitrary system. Let us move ahead. Language is creative. It generates many words in many meanings. See, mouse, the very first example is mouse means આપણી ગુજરાતી ભાષામાં માઉસ એટલે આપણે મતલબ ઉંદર પણ કરી શકીએ છીએ અને માઉસ કમ્પ્યુટરમાં વપરાતું જે સાધન છે એને પણ આપણે માઉસ કહીએ છીએ. So whenever you are using this kind of words, it depends on you how exactly you want to mean, right? T.S. Eliot એમની ધી વેસ્ટલેન્ડ કવિતામાં કદાચ જે વાત કરી છે કે એપ્રિલ ઇઝ ધ ક્રુઅલેસ્ટ મંથ. Now, why he is saying that it is cruelest? So, here you can say the term cruelest does have so many creative, or we can say so many hidden meanings, right? So, that is the way we are using language. Frost has said, my love is like a red, red rose. Why he has repeated 2 times? So, that is the way we are using language. There are other creative examples or creative ways of using language. So that is why we can say the language is creative. Now let us move ahead with the next slide. That is, language is repetitive. It improves or reduces effectiveness of communication. A couple of girls are riding their bicycles. All of you meet together to see me in the afternoon at 3 p.m. See here, a couple of girls, and then there, and then in the second sentence you can say all of you. These are some repetitive expressions, but see, many a times it reduces, or we can say many a times it even improves the effectiveness of communication, right? In the first example, I think it is something to improve, and in the second, I think it reduces the effectiveness. All of you, it is not required. You can say you meet together to see me in the afternoon at 3 p.m. or you can say all meet me at 3 p.m. something like this. So that is a repetitive characteristic of language. Language is recursive. That means no limit of any potential length of a sentence. It generates any number of additional parts. For example, have a look. He borrowed a pen from me. Fine. If you want to place full stop here, you can. Your sentence ends here. Your purpose is over. But if you don't want to put full stop here, then it can be continued like this. He borrowed a pen from me which was not mine. Full stop. Or else remove the full stop. He borrowed a pen from me which was not mine and was given to me by someone. Full stop. Or else again remove the full stop and you add something, add something, add something. So you can add and omit things in the sentence. So the length of the sentence, it depends on the way you want to use it, the way you want to convey, what kind of things you want to convey, right? So it has no prescribed limit for sentence structures. So that is why we can say language is recursive. Fine, moving ahead with levels of communication. મિત્રો જ્યારે કમ્યુનિકેશન વિશે વાત કરીએ ત્યારે બીજા કેટલાક સંદર્ભો પણ આ સાથે આપણે વાત જરૂર કરવી જોઈએ, કારણ કે ઇફેક્ટિવ કમ્યુનિકેશનની જ્યારે આપણે વાત કરીએ ત્યારે આ બધા કન્સેપ્ટ્સનું આપણને થોડું સામાન્ય જ્ઞાન હોવું જરૂરી છે, જેથી કરીને આપણે વાતચીતની ભાષામાં આપણી રોજિંદી કમ્યુનિકેશનની પેટર્ન્સમાં થોડો બદલાવ લાવી શકીએ, કઈ જગ્યાએ શું ઇમ્પ્રૂવ કરવાની જરૂર છે એની થોડી આપણને આ બધા ટર્મ્સની સમજૂતીથી પણ ખ્યાલ આવશે, અને તેમાં આપણે શું કરવું ખૂટે છે એ પણ એનાથી મને લાગે છે કે વધારે સારી રીતે સમજી શકાશે. સો લેવલ્સ ઓફ કમ્યુનિકેશન. નાઉ levels of communication, that means communication can take place at different levels. Now what different levels are, which different levels are for communication? Then namely it is extrapersonal, intrapersonal, interpersonal and organizational. એક પછી એક આ ચારેય શબ્દોની આપણે વાત કરીએ અને ત્યાર પછી આપણે માસ કમ્યુનિકેશનની અંતમાં વાત કરીએ. Extra-personal communication, that means communication which takes place between a human being and a non-human entity. That is called extra-personal communication. While you are playing with your pets, your pet animals, your dog or whatever it can be, that is a kind of extra-personal communication where a human being is trying to convey something, trying to communicate something to a non-human entity. So that is why it is called extra-personal. The second term that we should move ahead with is intra-personal communication. Now, when I started my today's talk, I said that psychological noise is something within yourself. Similarly, intrapersonal, that means all kind of communication processes which are taking place within yourself. Silently, if you are thinking about something, that is intrapersonal communication because you are communicating with yourself. એનું એક બીજું ઉદાહરણ વાત કરીએ કે કોઈ વખત કોઈ અનએક્સપેક્ટેડ ઘટના બને. સપોઝ હું અત્યારે વાત કરી રહ્યો છું અને બાજુમાં પડેલી કોઈ ગરમ વસ્તુ પર મારો હાથ અડકી જાય છે. What would be my immediate reaction to this? I would definitely remove my hand immediately. So that is called intrapersonal. Who gave me the message to remove my hand immediately from the object? It's my brain who gives me that kind of message to a part of my body. And then accordingly, I do react on it. So that is called intrapersonal communication where you and your brain are communicating something that is taking place within yourself, with your mind, within your mind. That is called intrapersonal communication. The next is interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is communication between two or more than two persons. When you are talking to someone, maybe your family member, maybe friends, I mean someone human being, that is called interpersonal communication. It can be between two persons or it can be even more than two persons. So that is called interpersonal communication. When you are dealing your communications with other people, that is called interpersonal communication. Here so many other things that you need to keep in your mind. કેવી રીતે વાત કરવી, શું વાત કરવી, કઈ ભાષામાં, કયા શબ્દોમાં, અને વાત કરીએ તો even body language, it becomes very essential when you are participating in interpersonal communication, because otherwise what you are saying, and if your body language is not matching with what you are saying,